He's kind of getting into the PC gaming thing a little bit. We're going to load Steam on. Well, we got Steam already loaded on it and went through a couple sample games. And there's a couple things we discovered. Is that things get a little bit warm when he's doing PC gaming. CPU fans step up. We're using about 60-70% of the CPU when we run some games. So we just don't think there's enough airflow in there in the stock cooler. Also, he's not able to play a specific game on his stock onboard video card. So we went to Fry's and we picked up 3 Corsair SP120 fans. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 of these on the top. There's openings at the top of the case, so we're going to put these on the top, sucking air, in, right? So they won't be exhaust fans; they'll be intake fans, blowing air down from the top down inside the case. We're also going to replace his rear fan with one of these as well, so we can step up the speed and still keep the noise down. And there's a spot for the front too, but I didn't get a fan for that at the moment, so we're just going to try it with these 3 Corsair fans and see how it goes. Also, his stock CPU cooler, he's got an AMD 6-core, 4 gigahertz or 3.9 or something like that, but it's a 6-core AMD chip in there. So we're going to try this Frio Silent 12 CPU cooler on there. That should really help. And this has got some thermal grease in it already, paste, but I also have some Arctic Silver as well. We'll probably just use the Arctic Silver when I get it out. To run all the fans, we got a controller, so we can, instead of letting the motherboard adjust it, we can kind of adjust it ourselves. We're just going to play with it, see which one kind of works best for us. But I got this control box. This is a, it won't fit in the 5 1/4, right? So it's made for a 3.5. So we went ahead and bought a 5 1/4, 3.5, 5 1/4 mount with an opening in it. You can see right there, so it'll slide right in there. Then we can stick it in the 5 1/4 bay in his case. I also got a couple cables in case I need them for the longer for the fans that will be the furthest away from this controller, because there's a power switch that goes into the controller, and then all the fans plug into that. And that's what controls it. So we need to make sure we got wires long enough. So I bought a couple of these just in case we need them. And then we got a new video card for him as well, PCIe 3. It's a Nvidia GTX 750 Ti. Basically the same card that I put in my new PC. I don't game at all, but I did want a decent video card. And this is made by EVGA. Mine was made by ASUS. But it's the same thing, the same chip, right? GTX 750 Ti, 2 gig DDR5, PCI 3. My card works pretty good. I haven't done any gaming on it yet, so this will be the real test to put in his. And then I picked up just a couple things extra. Just a whole mess of black zip ties while I was down there. So we can go ahead and put together his case correctly and do some cable management on there. And then I also picked up a couple, they still had them on sale. The other week I picked up a set of these, which is a 16 gig set, DDR3, 1866 megahertz RAM. And so I used a set of this and what I thought was another set, 16 gig, so I'd have 32 gig in my ESXi server. But it turns out the other Corsair Vengeance set that I had was actually an 8 gig set. So I'm only at 24 gig. So I'm going to pull the 2 4s out and I'm going to put these 2 8s in there. So I'll have 4 of the exact same memory modules in there, right? So all 4 slots will be filled with 8 gigahertz. 8 gig, 1866 megahertz Corsair Vengeance series. So I'll have a total of 32 gigs of RAM in my ESXi server once I put this in there. So we're probably gonna, unhook his machine here pretty quick, get it in here, pull up the board, kind of strip it all down, and then work on getting the new the new cooler mounted on there, seated on the CPU. Then start putting things back together with new fans, new fan controller, new video card. See you then. Well, I got all three fans in here, as you can see. I had to make sure I watched the direction. The back one is an exhaust, right? So it's sucking air and blowing it out to the back of the case, right outside. Which is cool because I have my CPU cooler set up where this is sucking air here, blowing it out into this exhaust fan, and then taking it out of the case, right? So these here, these two extra fans that I put in here, are actually blowing down into the case. So I didn't want, everything exhaust and everything intake, right? I'd rather have more intake than exhaust to build up a little pressure in the case and keep the air flowing around, right? Of course, there's vents and holes everywhere, so I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. So, pressure-wise. So I got quite a bit of air coming into this now with these two on the top, and then I got the exhaust coming out the back. Then I got the big CPU cooler. So I definitely think it's going to keep things pretty cool in here. I know the video card is going to go in this slot, so I'm going to have a little bit of air coming down from up here down, and then I'm also going to have this fan here blowing it down here as well. So it should work out all right. And I know there's a couple fans on the GPU. The video card itself, so we should be all right there. Really tight fit. As you can see here, I am just right up touching the edge of the RAM stick there. So to put the other memory in, I'm going to have to drop this other fan out, 4 screws, and I'm going to have to slide it. I take out the 4 screws from the top, and then I just tilt it back out and slide it, and then I can move the memory around and whatnot. This was also a very tight fit in here as well. I slid it in onto the side and had to actually put just a little bit of pressure on the CPU cooler and pull it back to slide everything in. And I think it is actually touching right here, but there's not any pressure on there. I think it's just kind of like resting there. So it's not like I had to like pry it and then snap back into place or anything. But I did test it, plugged it in to the motherboard fan controller here. Each fan I did, and made sure they all spun up and no noise, flowing really good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and work on putting the control module in here, and then wiring all the fans, all these 3 wires here, back into the control module so we can control the fans up front from the case. So that's it. See you in a minute. Definitely made some progress here. Issue that I got all the fans in, of course, and then we got all the wires in, and I got the controller up front here. Let me see if I can show you. It's these knobs here that control. There's up to 4 fans you can control. Of course, I just have the 3 of them hooked up to it. But the problem is that it had an old Molex connector on it. Well, the power supply that was in here didn't have any Molex connectors, and I knew I had a bunch of adapters. So what I have here is a SATA Molex adapter for a female into the SATA, right? So I can use an old power supply to plug into a new drive, but I don't have, I got like a whole bunch of these, but I don't have it the other way around where I can use a new power supply and plug it into an old drive, right? Just kind of vice versa. Old power supply, new drive, and I want new power supply, old drive. Old drive beating, they always have the Molex connectors on there. So what I did is Julian's like, oh, Ravage Grandma's old computer, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, so we gutted that thing out. What I have here is a 750 watt Silverstone modular power supply. And this has, I mean, all kinds of different cables in here that you can plug into it. And not only did I get a whole bunch of, let me show you this, I get a keyboard. So I have 2 strings of these SATA ones, right? So I can, you know, plug a just huge amount of drives on there. But I also have this one, which gives me Molex connectors. Yay! So I just plugged it into the controller, right, like that. So anyway, so we're going to use this power supply in the meantime. It's old. It is good. I paid a lot of money for it. It's a Silverstone gold 80 power supply, all modular. It just makes a lot of noise. It's just, you know, it's loud. It's an old, I mean, it's, God, what is it, 10 years, 12 years old power supply. I bought it a long, long time ago. And still works though, right? So we're going to use this until I order a nice, probably the same power supply that I put in my ESXi server. And that was the, what was it? The Corsair 750 modular in that. And that's really quiet, and it seems to be really nice power supply. Hopefully they still got them on sale, and then I'll swap this out when that comes in, but this will get us by for now. And then when I do the power supply, I'll also have the other memory pulled out of the ESXi server, mine, the new memory in that, and then I'll use the old memory out of the ESXi, and I'll put it in here. So right now he's got 8 gigs. I'll put another 8 in there, so he'll have 16 gig of DDR3, I think 1800 something megahertz on it. So he should be pretty good for RAM. So we're just going to put in the video card now, make sure it boots up, then I can start putting this thing together, and we'll be pretty much done. So I'll sign back in when we get the video in. So we got things put back together here. Didn't go quite as planned. Of course, none of these builds ever do, right? So good news is we definitely got all of our fans in that we wanted. Wound up cable managing them pretty good. I got a couple zip ties up into here to hold the cables up. Then I zip tied everything back up here on the frame. You know, rolled them up. So all that's out of the way. Pretty tight stretch fit for the was it the 4-pin that goes on the main board up here. But you know, not too bad. It's tucked around the cooler, then goes under the new what is it, 750 Ti Nvidia card by EVGA. It goes back around there down to the power supply. Again, the power supply is this old Silverstone 750, is it? Yeah, 750 modular. This thing's freaking 10-12 years old almost. It's I think it's at least 10. I don't know if it's any older than that, but I'm sure it's probably 10. Does a really good job, and kind of a godsend tonight. We had that other one in there, didn't have any Molex connectors on it, right? So I couldn't connect up my fan controller up at the top here. I'll show you where that's at. You see the fan controller up here, right? So it does 4 fans. I've got 1, 2, and 3 on for all these fans back in here. This runs off the motherboard, but all my case fans, the 1 there and the 2 up top, they all run off this fan controller. So I had this old Silverstone case, plugged it in for that. And then I thought about, I'm getting ready, I got everything together, I'm getting ready to put the video card in, make sure all that works, install the drivers. And I kind of figure out, I'm like, oh man, I need the, what is it, a 6-pin up into here, right? So this does not have any 6-pin on it. So I'm like, great, well, you know, we'll just run it without the video card. So I ordered a new 750 modular EVGA video, or power supply, right, which has all the correct cables on it, and I got an adapter for the Molex, so you know everything's going to be good. So I thought we just run it on the regular onboard video that it had originally in here. So, but just out of grins, I opened up the video box anyway, just pulled everything out, man. Not even thinking I was going to use it today. And lo and behold, EVGA. Remember, I got the same card, but I got it through ASUS, right? But EVGA actually put a cable in here that uses 2 Molexes, right? So lo and behold, this has Molex connectors on it. So we actually got the video card in here and running tonight. So that's kind of cool. Everything's working really, really good. So pretty happy with this so far. I'm going to go ahead and finish buttoning this up and putting it back over my kid's desk. And we'll do some last minute analysis on it, maybe some benchmarks. He wants to start gaming, so we'll definitely get that going. That's it. So mission accomplished. It all works. He's playing games. There's the fan controller lit up. Nice HP monitor, nice and thin. You can see here the Razer Chroma keyboard. We got everything. He's got everything in red right now. And then you see the mouse is lit up in red. And then this mouse pad's got a all the way around it is lit up in red. With the logo. So coolness. What's the verdict, Julian? Does it work okay?
Yes, very.
All
no
right.
lag at all.
No lag. Gotta love that. Later.